So being a coach, I talk to guys from literally all over the world. And after having talked with so many different dudes, I really have begun to see patterns in which men have begun to talk. And it's not just in their verbal communication like this, but it's also in the way that they text. And the way in which men are speaking nowadays is, well, you guessed it, in much more feminine ways. And so I'm going to break down today the different things that men are doing that I bet a lot of you don't even know that you're doing. And this is because it's so tightly ingrained into how you've grown up. You've seen things on TV, you've heard things on the news, or just in passing by people out on the streets, all sorts of different messaging. It could be in comic books, it could be in TV shows, it could be in music that you just picked up then and you are now using because that's what you think, that's how you think you should communicate. And so I want to discuss and open up some of these things and give you some ideas of how you can change your speech patterns and how you communicate to embody more of a masculine tone. Because if you're running into trouble with women, if you're getting friend zoned a lot, chances are you're simply not exuding masculine energy. Now let's start with the way you speak, okay? So these three things I'm going to break down today, just three. We're going to talk about how you probably pad your speech, okay? And I'll get into what that means. You have a very non-committal way of answering, or the things that you say lack energy, they lack force, they lack decisiveness, okay? And the third one is that you talk too much and you don't get to the point. Okay, so I don't fall into the trap of doing exactly what I say and not getting to the point. Let's jump into the first topic here, okay? And that's padding your speech, okay? So what I mean by padding your speech is essentially you are softening and adding a lot of extra words in order to not create friction. We live right now in a society where everyone wants to feel good. You can't say things that are offensive or would potentially make someone feel uncomfortable. And a lot of men have adopted this way of speaking. And the way men speak in general is they're very short, to the point, they're direct and decisive. That is a masculine way of speaking. Feminine way of speaking is much more flowery, it's much more emotional based, they speak a lot more because women bond and connect through socializing, through interacting through words and sharing feelings and emotions and experiences like that, okay? Where men talk to get things done. What's the point? What's the solution? What's the answer? We tend to drive towards fixing things and coming up with ways to overcome things, right? Whereas women want to naturally talk about different things and don't necessarily need to solve it or fix it the same way that men do. So when you pad your speech, you are putting in a lot of these softeners that make what you say sound effeminate, okay? So let me give you a great example to illustrate this point. So let's say you've met a girl and maybe you met on an app or you got her number and you're texting a little bit and somehow she tells you about something that she likes to do. I'm just going to make up an example that she says, "Oh, I love to dance." And so your response may look something like this. "Yeah, that's really cool. I bet you're really good at that!" Exclamation point. Okay, so let's break this down into little pieces of what you're actually doing here, okay? So first of all, you're agreeing with her by saying, "Yeah." Okay, I know it just seems like one small thing, but if you think about it, why do you need to say "yeah"? I mean, she just told you what she liked, but you're setting it up to soften things, to show her that you're on the same page. So you're using this little bit of a padding there. So you say, "Yeah, that's really cool." So you're agreeing, and now you're complimenting her already. You're trying to lift her up, make her feel good, and show that you approve of her and want to support her. Okay, again, very feminine at this point. And then you say to her, "I bet you're really good at that." So again, it's encouragement. It's giving her another compliment that she may not have necessarily earned. And then to cap the things off, you use an exclamation point just to solidify that you are excited for her and that you're giving her this extra bit of excited validation. So how many of you guys are guilty of doing something like this, where you're just way too overenthusiastic and your texts may look like this, or even the way you speak looks like this, okay? Now, you might be wondering, okay, well, if I don't do it in that way, what would be a more masculine approach to answering if she says, I love to dance, or I love to go dancing? Well, here's an example. If you were to respond, if I were to respond to a woman who says something like that, I would say to her, well, I can't wait to see your moves. Boom. It's very direct, it's very decisive, and it also shows that I'm going to be looking at her, I'm going to be checking her out. I'm not complimenting her. I'm simply saying, well, I look forward to seeing your moves. I don't know if she's good or not. I'm not giving her a compliment. I'm not getting overexcited. It's a playful way to respond, and it also shows that I will be viewing her. I'm going to take her in. It's very subtle, but the underlying tone is that you're going to enjoy her as a thing of beauty. So that statement then gives you a much more masculine dominance, and not in an overpowering way. It's just that, you know, you're a man who's used to looking and seeing and being around beautiful women, and so you enjoy taking in the sights. That's what you're subtly communicating by saying something like, you know, well, I look forward to seeing your moves. You know, very simple. And you avoid all the flowery, padded speech. Okay, number 2, non-committal answers or lack of force or vigor in your responses when a woman asks you something. So let me give you like a circumstance when I see this the most, okay? If a woman asks you to do something, hey, do you want to go to a winery this weekend? Or, hey, I'm thinking about getting tickets to the such and such concert. Or, hey, I'd love to go to this restaurant. Do you want to go? Do you want to go with me to this restaurant? Do you want to go with me to this new bar? And a lot of the times guys will say something like, oh, sure. Okay, yeah, whatever's. Or they'll say something like, yeah, whatever you want to do. Or like, I'm down. It's like this very non-committal, okay, whatever you want to do. And so what happens in this is that a lot of the times it comes off as not really sounding like you're very interested. It lacks clarity. You know, if you say, oh yeah, whatever's, that's something that now what you're doing is you're throwing it back on her, that she needs to be the one to come with the final decision. Because a lot of times when a woman asks you to do something, she has a level of insecurity or anxiety, not in a huge detrimental way, but she's doing these things because she wants to create an opportunity for you to get together and connect. And she is secretly hoping that you approve of her, that she does well by you, that she pleases you by coming up with this idea. So if you say like, oh yeah, sure, whatever's, yeah, it's all good, whatever you want to do, that now is, again, you're pushing away that masculine response that she was secretly hoping for and putting it on her. Now, a lot of you guys think, well, I'm just being easygoing, or I don't want to look too forceful or direct. Well, what's happening is that you're simply making her now become more masculine. And over time, she's going to, you know, be so used to you not being decisive or 100% in or 100% out that she will start making decisions slowly over time, and that's where she becomes bitchy. She becomes irritated. She becomes frustrated because you're acting wishy-washy. So then, how do you respond then if she asks you like she plans something or asks if you're interested in something? It's much better to say words like yes or absolutely, let's do it, I'm in, that sounds fantastic. when you hear something like that, when a woman hears something like that, hell, even you as a man, if you hear something like that, it's very like, boom, okay, this is like putting the gauntlet down. When you have clarity like that, it feels really, really good. You're not sitting there wondering, well, do they want to go? It sounds a little hesitant. Are they into it? Maybe they don't like going to wineries. So you lose that gray area. And for a woman, having that solid, let's do it, hell yeah, baby, let's go, that makes them, like, gives them clarity, eases their nerves a bit. So that's why you want to answer in a very direct, confident way. Now, on the flip side of that, let's say you don't want to do something, okay? By being clear when you want to do something, it'll also set you up for being clear when you don't want to do something, and she will be much more understanding of it. So if she says, hey, do you want to go to a winery? You can say something like, nah, that's not my thing, but thank you for asking me. Or no, I'm going to pass on that, but you and your girlfriends go ahead and go and have fun. So when you have come to her before and said, yeah, baby, let's go to that movie. Oh yeah, I want to go check out that bar too. Yes, definitely yes, absolutely. When you say things like that and you're that into it, when you don't want to do things, she'll like that. She'll be, okay, she'll be much more, she'll understand in her head that this guy is very clear and decisive, and he always is a straight shooter with me. Now, if instead you were to say, oh, I guess, sure, we could do that, I guess, or yeah, I suppose, you never really sound like you want to do it, and you never really sound like you don't want to do it, right? So like if you want to do something, like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And if you don't want to do something, well, I guess we could do it. They sound the same, right? You're begrudgingly doing this, or you're kind of, ho-hum going along with the one that you do want to do. So that's why having that clarity, it eases her nerves. And you don't have to be afraid of saying a clear no or a clear yes. Women will appreciate this, especially if you establish from the beginning that, hey, I'm a very yes or no, I'll tell you straight up. You don't feel the need to tiptoe and stuff. Now, it doesn't mean you don't be nice and you don't be respectful. That's you could still do that and still be clear. So, okay, let's move on to the third thing. Oh yeah, talking too much. This is something critical. Like I said earlier, women bond, they connect through verbalizing, expressing themselves, talking. Obviously there's that trope or the meme of just women, talking all day. I mean, that they get together and gossip, whatever. Now, of course, men talk as well, but men generally tend to talk about things, solutions, problems, challenges, where women will tend to talk about feelings, how that feel and what makes them feel this and feel that, and this thing happened and how did it make you feel. So and they just essentially use a lot more words. I think there's a study that says women use 6,000 to 8,000 words a day. Men use 2,000 to 4,000 words a day. It's very different. So a lot of you guys think that one of the messages that you've been raised with is, oh, I need to be a good communicator, so I better talk a lot. That's what you're thinking. Well, being a good communicator doesn't mean talking a lot. It means being clear. It means being easy to understand, and you don't need to do that necessarily with a lot of words. Yes, sure, there's going to be times when you need to explain things in more depth. That's different. But when I look at something very simple, because some of the men that I coach, they'll send me their text exchanges with the women that they are interacting with. And when I look at the bubble ratio, the man's text bubble is huge. And a lot of times the girls will be like one word, okay, cool, great, or 2 words, it's something very, very small. And that in and of itself, if you look at that ratio, it's showing this man is just talking so much. He doesn't need to do that. She should be the one who talks more than he does. And when men go into so much detail and over-explain things, like I know another guy who, if you ask him, what's your favorite movie? He'll answer like, Ooh, well, I really love Star Wars, but at the same time, I'm really a big fan of Jurassic Park because the way they recreated the dinosaurs was just amazing and groundbreaking at that time. But if you think about it, I guess something more dramatic like The Godfather really gets more of a humanistic tone, and I like that the way Scorsese captured that. I mean, this guy will go on and on, and when you do that, you sound neurotic to a woman. Okay. If a woman asks you that question, maybe you do have 10 different favorite fucking movies, but it's always better to be more concise. I mean, that's the more masculine way of speaking. So if a woman says, what is your favorite movie? You might like Star Wars, you might like Jurassic Park, you might like The Godfather, all these different movies. Just pick one and say it. So if she says, what's your favorite movie? Star Wars. Boom. You're direct, you're decisive, you're to the point. Even the way you say it, you're not hemming and hawing. This exudes much more masculinity because it's more confident, it's to the point, it's taking, you're just putting the gauntlet down. You're confident in your decision. If you're wish-washy and, I like this movie, but I like this too, you can like more than one movie. I'm not saying you can't like that, but when you exhibit that behavior, you look neurotic. You look very indecisive. And so for those of you out there who maybe are getting ghosted after a couple of dates, think about how you're speaking with them. Are you offering up way too much that's overwhelming them and they get sort of this guy's way too much for me? Think about that. The other thing that when you speak too much does to a woman is it forces her to think about way too many things when women already worry about enough. They're much more anxious creatures. They're much more nervous. They're much more self-conscious. So they already have a lot of things kind of floating around in their heads that they're worrying about. So if you are going on and on about, let's say something about, if she asks you, hey babe, I'm really hungry, let's go grab some food. And then your response is something like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. Well, so what should we get? Should we get Thai or should we get pizza? I don't know, what do you think? I mean, we just had Thai last week, so I kind of am sick of that. But at the same time, that new spot opened up and I wanted to try their dumplings. But the pizzas, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. When you start speaking like this to a woman, she's gonna be like, dude, you're making me anxious. Hell, I'm sure with even your guy friends, you're gonna make them anxious. The more anxious you make a woman, the more she's gonna wanna push away from you. So be more decisive, be more direct, just pick. Just make a decision, be the man and lead that relationship. And don't talk so damn much. I wrote down a really great example here. Again, if a girl asks you to go out or meet up. Now, some of the more neurotic type of men may say something like, well, I think I'm going to be working late tonight and then getting dinner with a friend, which will push me till around 10 p.m. tonight, so I think I'm going to have to pass. Let's say you text that message back to her. That's way too much, okay? Instead, if she asks you, hey, do you want to grab some dinner tonight? Just say, can't tonight, or I've got plans tonight. Let's do it next time. Boom, clear, easy to understand. Calms her nerves. She doesn't have to hear your whole fucking life story. I mean, so that is, these are 3 things to look out for because these are the things that I see a lot with the men that I coach. So if you're doing any of these things, just be sure that you take a second and just assess. Are you doing any of these things? And if you are, take my suggestions and try that out. You may find that it even calms yourself more. You may feel like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling more masculine just by being decisive, and it feels really good. So give these a try. I'd love to hear from you guys how things have worked for you, how have you spoken in the past, and if you've taken any of these techniques or taken this advice and tried it, let me know how it is. If you are looking to attract more feminine women into your life, grab my free guide. It's completely free. It'll run you through some things to look for and ways that you can, things that you can do yourself to attract more feminine women into your life. If you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. I do videos every week. And if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, you're struggling with something, you need some outside help, coaching links are down below. Click those to find out more and book a session with me. All right, guys, that is it for this one. Cheers to you, and we'll see you in the next video.